Welcome to the Tech Savvy Professor podcast, which features two faculty members who love tech and love making it part of their work. I'm Marty Gensius, a faculty member at Kent State University.
And I'm Eric Perry, Program Director at Divine Mercy University.
Well, it's the beginning of the semester and for most of us. I mean, I think, I don't know, when does your semester start, Eric?
We have another week. So,
okay.
Yeah, next week it'll start up.
Yeah. So you're looking at starting up too, which with another week gives you plenty of time to buy tech stuff, which is part of what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, we actually talked about naming the segment "Spend Eric's Money."
Let's spend Eric's money. It's a situation that's happened with me where I do a podcast called Vision Profiles. Eric and I do this podcast, and then we also do Circular Firing Squad. And I decided to push Vision Profiles to a live stream. So we're going to record on Wednesday nights. We're going to do it live for whoever wants to come in. Well, we're going to be then saving that video to YouTube. So you want to make your scenario look pretty. Of course, we're talking about this on a podcast, an audio podcast, but the idea came up and the experience was, how do you up your game when you're video conferencing? And by upping your game, we're talking about hardware primarily today. Ways that you can have a better and project a better experience for the end user, for the student who's looking at you, and give them a better source of experience with you because of the way you've set up your hardware and your background and your lighting and such. So we decided to talk about how to upgrade your video conferencing game. And by that, we primarily mean hardware. I've had to look at it because of this shift to doing online streaming. And some of this equipment I already had, but I spent a lot of time looking and seeing how other people do their live stream podcasts and added on to some of the material that I have. So let's start with cameras, video cameras that you use for capturing your video or streaming in Zoom or in Microsoft Teams. We know that the stream level for Microsoft Teams and also for Zoom is what, 1080p is the most you can do with it. A 4K camera isn't going to do much for your game, but if you're looking at capturing that or using it on YouTube, you still want to have a high quality camera. So one of the cameras, and I'll put all these links in the show notes, one of the cameras that I've got that I'm using now is the Insta360 link, and it runs, I'll have the Amazon links in the show notes too for you. It runs $250 roughly. It is got some really good aspects to it. The 4K webcam, half-inch sensor, AI tracking. That's the camera that I'm using right now. Prior to that, when I was doing this new setup, I purchased a face cam, which is an Elgato product. And I ran into some problems with it in terms of hooking it up. And then I searched on the internet and found out some people were running into the same problems. My first YouTube broadcast for Vision Profiles, it looks rather ghosty. And so I'm switching to this and going to be using this Insta360 link. But I'll put the link in for the face cam. It's part of Elgato's products that sync into a bunch of other things I'll be talking about today. Most folks use their embedded laptop cameras. I've had other people swear by them and other people who I respect in terms of doing video broadcast. They're like, that's just as fine. You don't need to worry about this other stuff. Eric, any ideas about cameras? You mentioned in an email that you're looking at maybe getting a new camera.
Yeah, so I've been shopping around a little bit. I've had a few of the Logitech or Logitech, depending on how you pronounce it, cameras. They're nice and portable, small. The one I have now is a 1080, and I want to upgrade to a 4K to do some more recording, particularly for posting videos in courses. So I want a little bit higher resolution.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do some video editing with. So I was thinking about going with the Brio model of the Logitech. I like that one. It has the auto adjust features, doesn't have the AI type features. The mic is not great. So I don't
Yeah.
intend on using the mic, but the video quality, there's been some really good reviews on. I actually really like your Insta360. I think it's neat. So maybe something I try out first before I kind of fall back on the Logitech.
Yeah. I have a Logitech Brio. I stopped using it here and plugged it in at the office. I might wind up taking the face cam that I got, the Elgato face cam, to the office and hooking it up there. I'm still new with this setup, and I'll continue to play around with it to try and get good video quality out of it. And if I default to the Insta360 and I'm only going to be using that, then I'll take the face cam to the office. Using the Insta360 with the arrangement that I have, the device that I'm using plugs right into the face cam. I'm going to jump sort of ahead on our list and talk about focus. And what I mean by focus is you can't see this because audience can't see this because this is an audio podcast. But if you're doing a video podcast, you want to keep your eyes on the camera as much as you can. You don't want to be giving viewers a profile because you're turning your head to read something off another screen. It just doesn't personalize it. So if you look at any of those YouTube training videos or the professional ones that are done, person's looking directly in the camera. And so I purchased a Elgato prompter, and this is like a teleprompter, and you can do teleprompt work with it if you want to do that. There's a podcaster, Jill of the North Woods, who does solo podcasts. I do a lot of podcasts with other people. Jill does solo podcasts, and to that fact, she has a lot of script that she wants to do during her podcast. Well, she introduced me to the idea of using a prompter. I'm using it to have my Zoom screen on. So when I'm looking at my Zoom screen, I'm also looking directly at the camera. The camera sits behind the teleprompter and is kind of in the background. You don't see the camera because you're getting the reflection on the teleprompter, but because you're looking at the content that's on the teleprompter, you're looking directly at your camera. The Insta360 has a little green LED that goes around it when the camera is on, and it turns on when the camera is being used. So there is a way to turn it off, apparently, but each time you set it up, you have to go in and turn it off. So what I've done is taken electrician's tape, basically, and covered the LED, wrapped it around this little circular band of LED that goes around the base so it doesn't glow through on my teleprompter. So that's what I've got. The other thing is it's kind of an open window then in the back. So to reduce that, you think of the old photography cameras where the photographer had to put the kind of black hood over the back of them so they could look at the camera. That's what is attached to the back of this that comes with the teleprompter. So with the teleprompter, you can put in the face cam, which is why I bought it, and that mounts directly in it. You can put in a DSLR camera if you want to stream directly from a camera for your video. And you have this open one that you put the shroud over the back of to blacken out. And that's what I've got the Insta360 Link mounted on as a camera. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
No, it's just neat. I was looking at it as you were talking about it. It's just one of the things I didn't get to look at before we started. And I think it's a pretty neat investment. I think if you have some utility for it, like you said, that eye contact, trying to multitask, even in meetings with just a couple of people, it can make you feel more focused on what's going on while you're trying to multitask. So, maybe something I look forward to testing out here in the future.
Yeah, I have it sitting on top of my center monitor, and it is the fourth monitor in my string. So if I want to get my mouse onto it, I move my mouse across a couple of monitors, and then it shows up on the on the teleprompter. And there's all sorts of options that you can do with the teleprompter besides text. But I'm pretty much sticking to having it as my focus for Zoom. Microphones. I have a collection of microphones and a shelf of microphone orphans that are sitting there for looking for good parents. What's up? What you're laughing? What's going on?
Well, and here I've been trying to keep the same blue mic alive. I have a blue snowball I've been using for I don't know how many years now and really need to reinvest. And I've carried it just about everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
I like it, but it needs an upgrade. And now I'm in a much smaller office space. So, I want something with a little bit more focus, right? Something that's going to cut out background noise and have some more features to it. It does fine, but it's just an okay quality.
Yeah, the general rule of thumb for me with microphones that I found, because I do have a whole shelf of microphones over to the right that I will loan out to folks if they need it. Or if I'm traveling, I'll try to take a lighter microphone, but I still keep taking the heavier microphones because they're really good. I'm currently using a Heil PR4, and it is an XLR, which means the output of it goes into a small mixer. It's his Elgato Wave XLR. It's a one input in, one input out. So it goes from XLR to USB-C. So then I can plug it directly into my computer that way. XLRs can be used for a lot of other, you can get complicated mixing boards. I have one, and I have a bunch of cheaper XLRs that I've used for doing presentations with panels. I like this Heil. It is pricey. I think it's around $350, but the rule of thumb that I've found is you get what you pay for. And if you want to improve your quality of sound, you need to get above the entry market and into the 200s and 300s. In particular, what I like about this Heil, I'll also mention the Shure MV7 Plus. That is a USB and an XLR, and I think that runs around 260, 270. It has a little bit more bassier of a sound to it, which some people like that. I don't care for it personally, but it's a good microphone. I know a lot of podcasters that use it. And so when I'm watching video of podcasters, if I can see the microphone they're using, it's sort of like, okay, let me identify what microphone they're using. So I have both the Heil PR4 and also the Shure MV7 USB and XLR. And most people want to go just directly out of that microphone into the USB and not mess with any type of mixer. I think that's sound advice. Many of your lower end microphones have that directly. There are lower end XLRs, lower cost XLRs, but the lower end USBs are cheap, they're good, but it's the quality of the microphone. And one of the things that's true for me on both the Heil and the Shure that I'm talking about is you actually talk into the top of the microphone, whereas you think you'd hold the microphone up on the side and talk into it. It's really projecting off the top. That's where you get the best quality sound. You also get, because of that, you get a reduction in room echo. So some microphones, small rooms, you're facing a monitor, you're maybe even facing a wall because that's where your desk is. You're going to get a lot of room echo. So good microphones help reduce that. So in order to have a good microphone, you've got to put the price with it. So I do like the clarity on both of those microphones, the naturalness of the sound that comes out of it, and generally the lack of room echo. Another thing that surprised me about these microphones is I have a dog that likes to bark. The dog loves to bark as soon as I start getting in a podcast. It's not interested in getting my attention, just loves to bark. And I've stopped recording podcasts to go, okay, I'm sorry. And people are on podcasts with me or what? I said, don't you hear my dog barking? And they're like, no. And so it reduces or eliminates a lot of that extra background noise. I have a fan running in the background that also gets eliminated when you have a good microphone that you're working off of. So having good sound quality and also eliminating some of the extraneous stuff is the reason why you put a good price into microphones.
Yeah, I need to invest. It's time. So I think with moving the office, having a new setup, I want to do that too. Something that has come up for me, and I was excited to see on here is I do have a set of lights sitting around. I have one of those kind of circle face lamps. I have
Yeah.
some backlighting that I put here that doesn't seem to really help. So, in thinking about video and sound quality, the one thing that I really haven't spent a whole lot of time or effort on is backlighting.
Particularly, I've tried to keep my back wall clean. I've got a piece of metal art on the back, and I've got a old Mac Yum poster that I had framed and with a non-glare glass on it, and that sort of makes up the background wall. I'm going to probably move a lot of the stuff out of the background and make it a little bit cleaner in the background soon. I don't know where I'm going to put this stuff, but I'm going to probably move my printer out of the background and move some other desks that I have out of the background. I've used a couple of things for background lighting. I personally don't care for imposed backgrounds. I'd rather have a natural background. Look at professional podcasters who are doing YouTube videos. They have a natural background. They're not running a imposed kind of fuzzy outline background, which is often hard to get. I know you're doing some stuff with green screen in your background, Eric. I think in order to capture something.
No, so mine's not green screen.
Oh,
I have a green screen, but what I actually have is my daughter's room is right behind my office. So for this wall, I ordered foam acoustic
yeah.
tiles, and then I have a set of six portrait acoustic paintings that fit together on the wall. And it's kind of like a space scape sort of view from the
Hmm.
moon, the earth. So it kind of looks like a green screen background, but it's meant to block that sound going into her room.
I have, as I describe my background, in terms of lighting, there's a couple of components I've added. When you're using a 4K camera, whether it goes out 4K or not, you can't help but notice all of the little age spots that are now on your face. And so I got a Logitech face light. I will include this in the show notes of the version of lighting. Oh, yeah, I do have it in the show notes. It's a face light and it sits on top of the monitor and I can do cool to warm and I can change the intensity on that light if I want to, but it really does soften out some of the aging spots or blemishes or the fact that you didn't shave this morning. That those kinds of things disappear if you have a good face light. I do know with those rings, you'll see it when you look at influencers and stuff that are using those optical rings. If you wear glasses, you're going to have optical rings reflected on your glasses in general. There's no way to get about it. I'm currently not wearing glasses in this, and I'm trying to see if that's going to be a problem for me in terms of visual acuity. I do have contacts in, but probably not the strength I need to be able to look at my monitor and read anything of significance. So I will bounce back and forth between glasses, but there's even with non-reflective coatings, which I have on my glasses, it still gives a reflection from the screen. I've turned all my monitors to a black background, so I just set the color as black as a background, and that reduces some of it. If you have a light monitor, that will also reflect greatly on your glasses. So I'm using a face light and I've got it set at very warm temperature, the Logitech face light. Background, you've seen this for probably a couple of years now. I have these small little table lamps made by Miros, and they're LED lamps, and they throw enough light. They're sitting on tables, and they throw enough light on the back wall that it gives a little bit of a background lighting for me. I can also change the colors on them. So if I want different colors coming out of them, they're multi-hue LED little table lamps. I think they're $30 a piece, and put them on the table, and that works nice. I am looking, if I'm clearing off the stuff behind me, I'm going to be looking at a interesting LED. They're sold in packs of two. It's the Edishine LED corner floor lamp. They're not like the typical floor lamps that come up with a thin pole and then it has the bulb at the top and all of that's shown. This is just the thin pole, and it has an LED line that comes out of one side of it. You can't get a million colors out of it. You get the white, the cool, the warm, but that will throw up I think they're like 5'7" projection on either side that you'd be framed in the background. So I'll probably be removing my Miros. Although I looked at other floor projection lamps too, that you could sit on the floor and project up against the back wall. I decided to try these Edishine LED corner floor lamps and see how they work with the background.
Yeah, I think those would be great choices for mine here, just to pitch some light toward the back mural. I really
Yeah, and
like it.
there's such a thin design. It's not like they're going to interrupt the background. I think I got them in silver. I think they come in a couple of colors, including black and maybe bronze. But so I'm going to try those out. They should be arriving on Saturday, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if you have any other thoughts about how people can up their game with video conferencing.
No, I think hardware is a big deal. That's a big part of it. But, keep in mind, especially if you're streaming, that your bandwidth is a big deal too.
Yeah.
Just making sure that you meet those speeds required to stream at whatever quality you're looking to. 4K, it's a good bit, and some of the services don't support it. I had to chuckle a little bit when you said Teams supports 1080 when it wants to. Right. It's not quite as easy to get that quality that you want because it's dependent on so many other factors. Zoom, a little bit easier to get that. And of course, YouTube, when you're recording something and then you have access to that physical file, it's a little different than the streaming process. So, hardware is just half the battle.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've done some things on YouTube in the past, but it had been a while, and we cut our first streaming show on Monday, and I said, okay, we're done. It's 11 o'clock. I was up till 2 o'clock trying to get it right on the YouTube channel, and still not satisfied with the quality of it. The editing process in YouTube is a little klutzy compared to what I'm used to in video editing, but I got it done, and I'm sure I could add more bells and whistles to it next time, but it was 2 o'clock in the morning before I got to bed. So,
Yeah, fair enough.
well, I'm interested in seeing what you spend, what you get. And the one thing I know about you, Eric, is you always find kind of unique, good deals that work for you. I'm not as scrupulous as a shopper as you are. It's sort of like, looks good. When can I fit it into my budget? This is what the pros use or what I think the pros use. Let me get it. But you really do your research and find some cool stuff.
Might perseverate a little bit. Yeah. But and I'm good to take something back, send it in and try something new. So I might pick around, although, I already have a few of your suggestions in my cart.
I can share with you. I don't see a lot of downsides. I mean, we can talk about that. There is I think kind of a weird interface for the Elgato prompter. The camera interface doesn't do as much as I'd like it to do in terms of movement, in terms of being able to resize, changing the lighting quality that's going in the camera. There's not a lot of functional pieces in the interface. I also found something that was really strange with it, and it could be unique to my setup, but I really had trouble trying to get it to hook to YouTube. And when I hooked it to YouTube, I got this ghosting effect that I couldn't get rid of. And hopefully this different camera will solve that problem. I'll probably need to field test it before we do another live show on Monday. But the other thing it does is it has this digital, I forget what they call it. I'm going to open it up. It's display link manager that also gets put into the process. And if I have this camera on and if I have the prompter on and I have basically the prompter setup, which is camera hub. It's part of their camera hub. And I finish with this Zoom meeting, and I go to turn on YouTube, my YouTube's black. So it does something to interrupt that. So I have to shut down the display link, and I have to shut down the camera hub, and then my YouTube comes back up. It's something might be really weird to my setup and my situation, but it's a little kind of glitch that I found that I have to shut off, particularly the display link manager, because it will mess with anything that you get streaming.
Yeah, that is odd.
Yeah, but I think now it's manageable. Again, I'm going to see I've got to test it now with this new camera and see if the video quality improves outside of using the display link manager. So we'll see.
Yeah, maybe give us an update next week.
Yeah. Certainly. So thanks for listening to the Tech Savvy Professor podcast. It's great to, Eric and I have been roaming around the countryside during the summer, so we haven't been as regular as we wished we could have been. You can find out all about us and ask questions if you do by looking at the podtalk.net website, and that will connect you to us and also connect you to the podcast. Take a look at youtube.com/@Vision Profiles, and that will get you into the Vision Profiles podcast and now videocast that I'm starting to produce with that. And so we'd love to have your interest and membership in that. Thanks for joining us. And again, questions, contact us through the Pod Talk Network at gmail.com and email in a question. We'll try and get it on the show. You can find us on all sorts of podcast servers, including Spotify, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast servers. Our bumper music is from Philip Gross, Rast, from the Free Music Archive. Everything you need to know, again, is at thepodtalk.net. Look for other shows like Circular Firing Squad and a new show on spatial computing, Vision Profiles, that I've talked about. That's it for this episode. Thanks for subscribing to the Tech Savvy Professor.